it's win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Urbanization is a global phenomenon that is having a profound impact on how consumers spend their money and interface with the food industry. According to the United Nations, there are currently 7.7 billion people in the world, with 55% of them in urban environments. They project by 2050 those numbers are going to increase to 9.8 billion total people, with 68% of them living in urban environments. That's up 37%, or another way to say it, 2.5 billion more people living in our cities. This urban shift in population will result in $20 trillion injected into the urban economy in the next 5 years alone. As stakeholders within our companies, we have decisions to make on how to capitalize on this next great human migration. We ask that you open your minds and prepare yourselves to make the choice to take the actions that will be needed to win in this new urban world. Over the next 20 minutes, our team will show how the fast-paced urbanization within the United States is impacting where consumers spend their money on food, detail the pain points that lead to those spending choices, and identify and align the solutions that align with both retailer and manufacturing priorities. First, we'll analyze how people are making the urban migration within the United States and allocating their money between food at home and food away from home. Then we will take you on a journey through a day in the life of an urban consumer before finally providing you with solutions that you can implement in order to start winning more of the urban shopper's wallet as early as next year. Now let's meet the team. We have Lorena Aguilar with Food for Less. I'm Rick Martini with Ecos, Jenny Sandell with Nestle USA, Joseph Tremere with King Supers, and Tim Wittenberger with Cub Foods. And together, we are the Manhattan Project. In order to better understand urbanization, we have identified two specific city types: suburban cities, which contain between 2,500 and 1 million people, and dense urban cities, which contain greater than 1 million people. By 2030, the number of US citizens living in urban environments will be 87%. And by 2050, that number increases to an estimated 90%. That's 322 million people. In the US today, urban households spend almost 20% more on total food than suburban households, making urban households a particularly attractive target for grocery retailers and manufacturers. However, they spend 25% more on food away from home. That means urban households are spending over $1,000 more on food out of home than their suburban counterparts. If you're able to recapture that difference as consumers move to the city, the cumulative opportunity over the next 10 years is worth a whopping $75 billion. In fact, next year alone, that opportunity is worth over $1.3 billion. And as you can see, the growth accelerates each year thereafter. Those who want to win will have to get out to a fast start. Now, to help us better understand what's driving the urban purchase decision, I'd like to turn it over to Jenny Sandell from Nestle USA. Jenny?
Thank you, Rick. So, acknowledging the massive shift that urbanization represents, we need to dig a layer deeper as an industry to understand who is represented as these new city dwellers. The fact is, boomers, millennials, and Gen Zs are all moving from suburbs to cities. Boomers are the largest and richest generation to ever retire, and they are seeking out the excitement and walkability of cities. Millennials are no different, with 62% of them prioritizing walkability over space in their homes. And Gen Zs are following in the footsteps of millennials. As they reach prime working age, they're seeking out technology and healthcare industries that dominate cities. So as an industry, we need to look at the similarities represented by these new city dwellers rather than the differences. To do that today, we have created one consumer that will represent our new city shopper. City Susan is college educated. She is a renter, and she chose a walking commute versus driving. She also has a high disposable income that allows her to enjoy the city. So let's take a look at a day in the life of City Susan today. City Susan starts her day at home, grabs her cup of coffee, and starts her walk to the metro. After a handful of stops on the metro, she gets to work where she has a full morning. Realizing around noon that she only has a short window to grab lunch, she runs out of the office to her favorite food truck and orders her standby. After working the full afternoon, she then starts her commute back home. On the metro, realizing that she's hungry and exhausted, she uses her phone to order ahead at the Shake Shack down the street from her apartment. Once she gets to the Shake Shack, She picks up her meal, goes home, and picks up the packages that are waiting for her at her concierge. After her dinner, she goes to a workout, and then on her way home realizes that she needs to grab a few items for the next day. After picking up some bread, milk, and deli meat at her local CVS, she finally ends her day. So understanding that City Susan's dollar is critical, we need to look at an industry that she made choices to not go the grocery route. Convenience, an ability to carry things home easily, and a desire to avoid crowds and long checkout lines impacted her at multiple touch points throughout her day. Statistics show us that City Susan is not alone, and they offer a roadmap for what we as an industry need to solve for to win the future urban dollars. 2/3 of millennials prefer walkable cities. In addition, they're choosing restaurants versus grocery at lunch. And when they choose their restaurants, they identify 1 to 5 that they create a habit and keep going back to. Electric scooters have quickly become part of the fabric of city life, and consumers use them to shorten their last mile of their commute rather than for the full commute. When a shopper moves from a suburb to a city, they quickly adapt. This is really apparent when we see the rise as 2.5 times more shoppers use online orders for delivery in a city versus a suburb. And finally, we see that nearly 2/3 of shoppers are buying just-in-time groceries. They want to pick up what they need for the meal that evening and maybe a few ingredients for the next day versus a full stock-up shop. So taking a step back, we can identify 3 addressable pillars that impacted City Susan as she chose the alternative to grocery. The first was convenient alternatives. We saw that with C-stores and an abundance of restaurants. The second is she wants to avoid a crowded and slow shopping experience. The third is walk and carry hurdles of getting that item home. Today, the Manhattan Project team will identify the 3 must-win battles to win in each of these addressable pillars that include restaurants, traffic jams at checkout, and carrying home. I will now turn it over to Joseph Termier from King Soopers to address the first pillar of convenient alternatives. Joseph?
Thank you, Jenny. Out-of-home food offerings are a fierce competitor to the grocery industry. Since 2015, when restaurant sales surpassed grocery for the first time in history, this trend has only accelerated and the gap has only continued to widen. You can also see here that all subsegments within the restaurant industry have outpaced that of grocery on an annualized basis over the last 5 years. We are on the forefront of a mass migration to urban cities. The related behavior shift caused when the consumer relocates is undeniable. Today, 87 cities outpace the national average on dollars spent on out-of-home food purchases. Spending increases in larger urban areas. The larger the city, the bigger the spending, and the bigger the size of prize. As consumers vote with their wallet, it is clear that grocery must act to reassert our expertise, our trustworthiness, and our dominance in meeting consumer preferences as we do today in the suburbs. So how do we battle for share of stomach? First, we must understand what is driving the gap. With the largest year-over-year growth among restaurants being fueled by fast food and quick service restaurants, it highlights that location and convenience are critical inputs in urban consumers' food purchase decisions. To be the winning choice for City Susan's lunch break, we need to be where she is. To compete with the convenience and locations of quick service restaurants, urban retail stores should deploy multiple mini-mart vending machines to offer fresh food and quick trip necessities to urban consumers. The design of these machines supports the flexibility of assortment. It allows retailers and CPGs to stay on top of trends and drive continued usage through rotating variety. Rapidly evolving technology within these machines uses algorithms to track demand, maintain inventory data, and provide the ability for consumers to order and reserve items online. First mover advantage will be critical in order to secure top locations, such as corporate offices and residential lobbies. It will also be critical to build awareness. Mini market vending machines will meet City Susan where she is for quick meals. However, to continue to meet her needs better than restaurant alternatives, urban grocers must capitalize on location and excitement to bring City Susan and other shoppers to them. Urban consumers' desires for convenience makes them 15% more likely to shop for prepared foods than rural customers. Grocery must cater to this demand for convenience and variety through innovative and trendy platforms. Retailers will win shopper dollars by incorporating food halls within store layouts. Food halls are a collection of multiple restaurant concepts in one destination with a communal dining environment. With the growth of food halls, it comes as no surprise that a recent food service and retail report predicted that food halls are the grocerants of the future. While this trend has grown in popularity, 58% of consumers have still expressed a desire to have more from their current food hall offerings. Specifically, they want more services, including retail, to be available. Grocers are in a perfect position to leverage our real estate and our retail expertise to meet this demand in cities. Think back to City Susan's decision to order dinner from Shake Shack. By capitalizing on the food hall opportunity, a city grocery will win her dollars instead by offering convenience, exciting offerings, and a destination she can enjoy whether alone or with the company of friends. By developing a unique and innovative food service solution via food halls, City Susan's grocery store is driving additional foot traffic, increasing customer appeal, and most importantly, differentiating themselves versus restaurants. Now that I have discussed essential steps for winning the share of stomach in an urban environment, I will turn it over to Lorena Aguilar from Food for Less to discuss how the Manhattan Project will address crowded stores and long checkout lines.
Thank you, Joseph. Like City Susan, 58% of urban shoppers shop for groceries after work and school to buy only what they need that day and maybe the next day. That is nearly double what suburban shoppers report. It is clear that behaviors change when shoppers move to cities. Those high-frequency urban shoppers with small baskets want quick and convenient service. They want to avoid long lines and crowded front ends, and they simply just want to get in and out as quickly as possible by using the most credit cards for maximum efficiency. But consumers are not satisfied with the speed and efficiencies of grocery stores today. Nearly 2/3, yes, 2/3 of shoppers agree that most of the time, grocery stores are crowded and take a long time to check out. How will we reduce long lines and crowded front ends? As a store leader, I know that one of our greatest strengths is our people. We will use this strength to introduce cashiers on the go. These cashiers will be located at the perimeter of the store, easy for shoppers to spot, and will utilize handheld devices to quickly check out customers that need to purchase just a few items. It would give customers that are looking to purchase just a few items for dinner that night the ability to check out in the produce, meat, and even our service deli departments with one of these cashiers, instead of waiting in a never-ending 10-item or less checkout lane. The cashier will then issue the customer receipt with a QR code, giving the customer access to exit the store through a fast lane for quick and convenient exit. A second tool to eliminate crowds and long checkout lines is walk-up windows. This fast and convenient solution allows shoppers to bypass a busy grocery store and instead incorporate the grocery pickup into their commute. Customers will be able to order ahead online for fresh prepared foods and groceries and have the ability to pick it up on their way home, providing them with the convenience they are looking for. Urban consumers tend to rely less on vehicles for transportation and prefer everything within walking distance from home and work. The restaurant industry is already using a simple solution to take advantage of walkable cities. The consumers who want food fast, walk-up windows. Starting with local hangouts, these walk-up windows give traditional brick-and-mortar restaurant a shot of food truck cool. The trend is now catching on with larger chains like Chipotle, who opened up 4 test windows in January of this year in major cities. Brick-and-mortar restaurants, especially with rent and wage issues, are expensive to do. As cost pressures increase and restaurants try to recover in the coming months, we expect more businesses to take advantage of this simple, engaging approach to get consumers food fast. Grocery retailers are in the perfect position to use walk-up windows to provide convenience for customers looking for fast service. And now I will pass it on to Tim Wittenberger from Cup Foods to talk about walking and carrying hurdles.
Thanks, Lorena. So we've already talked to you about solving for convenient alternatives and slow, crowded shopping experiences in brick and mortar stores currently in an urban environment. Now, our final problem and suggested solutions will focus on the challenge of urban shoppers getting their groceries home. The difficulty of carrying their groceries home drives shoppers away from brick and mortar grocery stores in these urban environments. The distance to the store is one of the top considerations for shoppers, and it is increasing with the younger generation, in large part because most millennials, the largest generation flooding to urban areas, prefer to live where they do not need a car often. As this relates to grocery shopping, this changes the game. As we continue to look at City Susan's journey of grocery shopping, this part would have her stopping at the grocery store on her way home from work. She has her backpack with her while she stops to pick up some groceries. Here on the chart, we can see that the recommended amount that she can safely carry home would be only one 16-pound reusable bag. That's a problem. Think about it. How far do you really want to carry bags of groceries? It's hard enough trying to see how many bags you can carry from your car in your garage in the house without a bag handle ripping. Shift this to an urban environment, and City Susan is trying to do the same task, except she's walking numerous blocks and battling red lights. So our first recommendation for solving the distance and difficulty of getting groceries home in an urban environment must solve for the heavy, the cumbersome, the unsafe, and the inconvenient aspects that plague the current urban shopping experience right now. So how do we get groceries home safely and make it easier on our grocery urban shoppers? Rideshare scooters. These scooters, usually somewhere between 2 and 5 different brands, are in one urban city alone. By innovating and partnering with one or more of these electric rideshare scooter companies, we can either brand a basket that would go on the front of these scooters, or we build a basket attachment that can specifically go on the front that would secure a basket that the customer may already have at their home that they use currently. This would offer a safe, convenient, and easy way for the consumer to get their groceries home, keeps the scooters in front of the store's sidewalk from piling up, as customers can now take them both to and from the store with ease. Plus, it frees up the time for our consumers, so that way they get home faster with their busy days. Of course, this solution only solves for a portion of our customer base in an urban city. What is another way for us to solve for this last mile? We have to meet the customers where they are. We know urban dwellers want convenience and ease to get their groceries whenever they do buy groceries. When customers aren't going to our physical store, how can we actually reach them? Today's current structure in an urban city has a delivery direct to the consumer via channels such as Prime Now or Instacart, as well as others, as well as there's also the click and collect option. As alluded to earlier, urban dwellers don't use cars that often, so the last option, the click and collect, does not really pertain to them. So with so many people in this concentrated area, we must go to where the consumer is, and that's our second recommendation. Bus routes. Bus routes are frequent around the city. Nearly every city street or city block has a bus route. Now imagine trucks and buses delivering your groceries on these specific routes throughout various times of the day. This brings the groceries to the consumer at least at their place or at least near where they either work or live on a specific schedule. For retailers or CPG companies, this can keep delivery costs essentially fixed because of the set schedule that is created ahead of time. Additionally, by meeting the consumers where they are, this allows for a convenient and quick way to get their groceries without ever having to step foot in that crowded urban grocery store. So now that I've talked to you about how we're going to improve the hassle that plagues current urban consumers right now, and how we can utilize and partner with 2 pre-existing models to solve for this current hurdle, I'm going to now kick it back to Rick Martini to bring us home.
Thanks, Tim. Today, the Manhattan Project has shown you the way urbanization will impact the food industry monetarily, taking you on a journey through a day in the life of City Susan, and provided you with a robust series of solutions that can be implemented as early as next year that will allow you to be able to reclaim a piece of the $75 billion urban prize by implementing cashiers on the go, fresh food vending machines, commuter carryout, walk-up windows, adapted electric scooters, and food halls. Those of you watching are the principal stakeholders in your organizations and hold the keys to the crucial fast start necessary to capitalize on the full potential of the urban movement. You have been enabled with the information necessary to win, and make no mistake, there will be winners and losers. So make the choice. In the new urban world, how are you going to win?